What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Still Good Kami, and I'm back. I know I was away for a while. I went on vacation. I was in Cuba, and then I just kind of had to get back into the swing of things. But I am here, and I'm going to be talking about One Piece chapter 1110. I'm going to be starting off at this point, and then tomorrow I will be having a video with One Piece chapter 1111. So look out for that information. I'm just going to go into detail some of the things I found, some of the things that were interesting to me. So let's go through this together. We're going to start off with this chapter. It's called Planet Fall. Now, obviously, this is a reference to the names of the Gorosei members. We have Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, which is, what's the name? Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Zoro, and Jupiter. So these are just references to these characters' names. Planet Fall, because all of the planets have now aligned at this location on Egghead Island. Also, the sun is here. Sun God Nika has just arrived. So these are, this chapter was interesting. I really enjoyed it. I found that this chapter, when I first had read it weeks ago, was one of those standout chapters. We knew that there was going to be a break after this, and then so one of those chapters was like one more chapter, and then it was leading up to that 1111 chapter. So this chapter really did set up like sort of expectations for me, and I will go into that in a little bit. But just starting off with the cover page, we see Yamato and Momonosuke. They are talking, it seems, in the Flower Capital, and you know, it's part 2 of this Back to Wano cover story, and it seems that, you know, Yamato's gonna do what she said she was gonna do. She's gonna travel around like Odin did. Chapter starts, it starts with the arrival of the Gorosei members. All the Gorosei members touch down. We have Saturn, who is the Gyuki, Mars, who is the Itsumade, Mercury, the Hoki, which is like a pig, boar, Venus Juro, who is the Bakotsu, which is like this horse human thing, and then Jupiter, which is the sandworm. It looks like the sandworm from Dune. All of these Gorosei members have touched down, all in transformed states. Oda went out of his way to show us who was who, what were the transformed states, and give them all names. But once again, he doesn't show us any devil fruit powers. And what was interesting to me is, just like with Saturn, we see like a full form. Well, I think with Saturn we only really saw a hybrid form, but we saw like a full form for everybody else, and then with Venus Juro shows up in his full horse form, and then we actually see him transform into, you know, his devil fruit form, or like his hybrid form, sorry, not devil fruit form, his hybrid form. So we do know that now they have all full forms and they have hybrid forms, so they basically run essentially like devil fruits, but we have not gotten the name of the devil fruits yet, so it is still up in the air if these guys are even devil fruit users. Right now it is highly unlikely that they are actual devil fruit users, and they are in fact yokai from hell, which is crazy, because what does that mean? Does that mean that devil fruits are based off of these kind of beings? Like the phoenix is a real being and the devil fruit would be based off of phoenix? Does somebody have a devil fruit version of these crazy beings? And if they're not really alive, like how is Katarina Devon supposed to turn into them? Can Katarina Devon just turn into mythical monsters? I thought she has to be able to turn into people. If she touched a bear that was outside, could she turn into a bear? These are like questions that appear into my head, because I'm like, how does this work? Like, don't you have to be a human? If these things aren't human, if they're just monsters, can Katarina Devon just turn into monsters? Can she turn into a bird, a seagull, one of those long giraffes that are in Long Ring Longland? Can she touch that and turn into that? These are the questions that come into my head. I'm sorry. Venus Juro goes into his hybrid form, and he takes out all of the Pacifista with like this cold freezing slash, and it freezes the inner circuitry of the Pacifista and renders them useless. A doctor is looking at them, so Venus Juro is going around the island cutting up these Pacifista, and not gonna lie, this reminds me of Brook. You know, these are like devil creatures, monsters, whatever the Gorosei are, and it seems like he's slashing them with the chills of the underworld. Now this will refer to something, I said it reminds me of Brook, but by the end of this chapter it kind of reminds me of something else, so I'll go back into that as well at the end. But I think that is something to be reminded of, like these, just like this hell vibe, this cool vibe, and then Brooks attacks. Like, that just, the coincidence is crazy to me. So we see the Vice Admirals, they're all reveling in the fact that, yes, you know, like, all the pacifistas that were pinning us down, they are taken out by something. They haven't seen the other planets arrive on the island. So the Vice Admirals are going to be hunting Bonnie. We know Bonnie is with the Giants, she's with Atlas, she's with Frankie. I'm not sure if there are any other characters with them at the moment, but those are the characters she's with. I remember Atlas, Frankie, Bonnie. And so they are on their way to where the Giants ship is at the back of the island. And they're going to try to meet up with the Straw Hats from there. So now we know that the Vice Admirals are going there. That could lead to a confrontation between the Vice Admirals and that group as well. So we saw some stuff from Frankie. We saw Frankie fire a beam. But maybe this is like a hint that we will see like a fight from some of these Vice Admiral members that they introduced at the start of the arc. And Frankie. So let's see Frankie do something. He doesn't have the Shogun. He's in the Frankie regular form. So let's see what he got. Sanji. We see Sanji. He's catching up. He sees the Itsumare flying up towards the Labo phase barrier, right? Sanji calls up Nami and Usopp, that team, and then we see that Sanji is warning them. He says, something's coming, you guys gotta get out of there, alright? Usopp doing the first thing he's done all arc, it feels like. Off screen, he used one of his seeds to basically stop the sliding Sunny. And now, I know before that I had mentioned that I think the Sunny was going to fall and get caught by the giant ancient robot. Obviously, I was wrong about that, but Usopp did something this arc, so that's a W. That's something at this point. Usopp is showing his utility. He's not completely useless, so Oda made sure to show Usopp do something. Sure, it wasn't super exciting. Sure, we didn't actually get to see him actually do it, but he still did something, and I will count that. You know, I'm counting that. So Usopp stopped the ship, and then we see Brook, Chopper, Nami, Usopp, and Lilith all together on the panel. They're talking to Sanji. Sanji's warning them about what's coming, but Nami says, Jinbei went to go get Zoro. We can't leave until they come back. We haven't seen Robin or like Stussy or Kaku in a while, so hopefully in the next chapter we just get like a catch up where they are, because every time when Robin's not on screen I get scared. Robin's hurt all of a sudden, we don't know what happened. I just get scared, you know, like what happened to Robin, what happened to my girl. Please make sure nothing happens to Robin. As we're catching up with the group, we see that, you know, Nami and the rest of the gang that's on the Labo phase are basically waiting for Jinbei and Zoro to return so that they can all leave. And in this moment, Jinbei tells them, you know, he's like, oh, I found Zoro. He's still scuffling with Lucci. Lucci taunts Zoro saying like, oh, there's all this strong hockey. Don't you want to check it out? This goes from the previous chapter when Lucci's saying like, wouldn't you do better? Stop scuffling with me and just finishing this fight if you could. Ha ha ha. Zoro is not taking the bait on any of these taunts. I really wish he would, and he would finish the fight. But one word from Sanji. One little simple word. And Zoro took that bait. Sanji says, he admonishes the boy. Says, damn, the stupid moss head. What's taking him so long? Zoro has his sword hit out of his hand, flying up in the air. Now, and I was looking at Zoro's swords and I tried to pay as close attention as possible, but this sword is actually Katetsu. So this scene is very reminiscent of the scene where Zoro actually got his Katetsu blade. Like, you know, Zoro threw the sword up in the air and it came down and it was either going to slice his arm clean in half or he was going to go around his arm. Zoro tested his luck. Zoro's sword went flying in the air, and then as he's blocking, Lucci starts trying to do like finger pistols. He's dodging the finger pistols. He catches his sword, takes out, you know, Wado Ichimonji, puts it in his mouth, three-sword style, Hahava Hunt, or leopard-spotted Hahava Hunt. And he takes out, you know, ACOC, all that lightning. He takes out Lucci in one big slice. This is like one of the only, I think this is the only attack that he landed in this fight. So he basically one-hit Lucci. Pretty crazy. And I looked up the word Hahava, right? That's a word in the Buddhist religion that references one of the three coldest layers of hell. It was like Atata, Hahava, and Huhuva, right? So when I looked it up, it said okay, how do I say this? Hahava is as cold as 20 Atata hunts, and Huhuva is as cold as 20 Hahava hunts. So it's the second coldest layer of hell of the cold layers of hell, but there are like 16 layers of 16 different hells in the Buddhist religion, but it's one of the coldest attacks. And you know, with the reference to the underworld, with Bokotsu and that type of thing, with Brook too, and having like these cold, shivering ice attacks, and freaking Venus Juro having these ice attacks too, it's like Zoro having a reference to the coldest layer of hell through the attacks. Although the attack itself didn't seem to have any type of ice damage, the attack name was a reference to the coldest layer of hell. So there's a mirror there. I don't know if that could be a group attack, like a group fight between Brook, Zoro versus Venus Juro. I think that would be interesting and be an interesting callback to Ryuma. That would be an interesting callback because, you know, they both fought Ryuma. Ryuma was dead, so this could be like an interesting thing they actually do together, and they would need to rely on each other's strengths, maybe Brook's speed and Brook's nimbleness, and like Zoro's raw attack power. That could be an interesting thing that I just thought off the top of my head. So Hahava Hunt was an interesting attack. I like the way that he caught the blade and he just dunned him off. One other thing that was interesting about this fight is that the King of Hell mode, right? Zoro was using it at the beginning of the fight, and then he's using 3-sword style at the beginning. Then we see Zoro go back to 2-sword style, and then right at this last moment he goes back to 3-sword style, but there's no King of Hell spark around his sword. So I don't even think Zoro used one of his super most powerful attack. ACOC for sure. That was some crazy hockey we saw being drawn through Oda. But King of Hell style, I feel like Zoro still has more in the tank. So that is, you know, basically I hope the end of this fight. We end up seeing Luffy at the end of this. Jupiter basically comes and he swallows Luffy in his sandworm form, and then we see Dory and Bragi. They use an attack, it's called Child of the Sawing Sun, and they basically like one of the giants goes high, the other one goes low, and then they make it like a piece of Jupiter that like flies out, and Luffy falls out of it, and then he notices that the giants are there. He says, hey, the old giants are here, and they said, we couldn't wait to see you again. We heard you were here. They saw the posters, they know about the Sun God Nika, they obviously know what he looked like, and they said, their reaction to me sounds like either they knew he was going to end up being the Sun God Nika, or that they were flabbergasted that they couldn't tell from before when they first met him. So they rushed their way over here, and it is such a sight to see. This makes me more excited to see when Shanks will show up and see Luffy, because like, what will Shanks have to say about this form? Like, this is the devil fruit you gave Luffy. Did you know it could do this? That's crazy. Did you know it was the Gomu Gomu no Mi, or the Nika Nika no Mi? That makes me so excited. That's all I can say. I'm just super excited to see where this ends up. I loved this chapter, Planet Fall. I think that, like, for the next chapter, I'd want to see an update with Robin. I want to see, you know, what's going on with these, I want to see what's going on with the message. I want to know what that message is, what it is that the Vegapunk has to say to the people. And I don't know, maybe something with Zoro in terms of his birthday coming, 11/11, that's the chapter name, just something with Zoro in general. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this chapter. Sorry again it's so late. You'll get the chapter 11/11 chapter review tomorrow. Thank you so much, have a good one. Soge Kami, out.